On the spring morning of 1479 BC, under the rising sun of the ancient Near East, Pharaoh Thutmose III stood at the edge of a decision that would change human history forever. For the first time, a war was about to be fought, recorded, and preserved in written detail, not as myth, not as legend, but as documented fact. This moment would later be known as the Battle of Megiddo, the earliest recorded war in human history. At this point in time, Egypt was the most powerful civilization the world had ever seen. Its wealth flowed from the Nile, its authority stretched across vast territories, and its influence shaped the political balance of the ancient world. But power, no matter how great, always invites resistance. In the land of Canaan, a coalition of city-states began to challenge Egyptian control, believing that Egypt's leadership was vulnerable after years of internal transition.
What they did not realize was that they were about to face one of the most strategic military minds of the ancient world. Thutmose III was young, but he was not inexperienced. He had inherited a kingdom that demanded strength, intelligence, and decisive action. When reports reached him that the rulers of Canaan had united against Egypt, he understood that this was not just a local rebellion. It was a direct test of Egyptian authority. Losing control of Canaan would mean losing trade routes, influence, and the respect that kept rival powers in check. This was not a conflict Egypt could afford to ignore. As the Egyptian army marched north, the situation grew more dangerous with every step. 3 possible routes led towards the city of Megiddo, where the enemy forces were gathering. 2 of these routes were wide and safe, allowing the army to move comfortably.
The third route, however, was narrow and risky, winding through mountains where soldiers would be forced to march in single file. Egyptian commanders advised against it. An ambush there could destroy the army before the battle even began. But Thutmose III saw something others did not. He realized that the enemy would expect him to choose the safer paths, and in that expectation lay an opportunity. Choosing the narrow pass was not bravery alone, it was strategy. By taking the most dangerous route, Thutmose III aimed to surprise his enemies and reach Megiddo before they were fully prepared. It was a gamble that could either secure a decisive victory or lead to total disaster. This moment marks one of the earliest recorded examples of strategic military thinking in human history, where deception, risk, and timing played a central role in decision-making. As the Egyptian army emerged from the mountains, the unexpected happened. The enemy forces were not positioned to attack.
They had prepared defenses along the safer routes, convinced that Egypt would avoid the narrow pass. Thutmose III had outmaneuvered them before the battle even began. With speed and coordination, the Egyptian forces advanced into the valley near Megiddo, catching the coalition armies off guard. What followed would not only decide the fate of the region, but would become the first war ever preserved in written history. This battle was recorded in detail on temple walls, carved into stone, so that future generations would remember how strategy, leadership, and preparation could shape the outcome of war. For the first time, humanity did not rely on oral tradition to remember conflict. War had entered the age of documentation, and with that, history itself changed.